had you considered before buying off the plan?
No.
Why not?
I think the Kiwi dream is to buy the doer-upper.
Hi, Will. I'd like to welcome you to this episode of the Relatable Property Investor. And obviously we've also got Ben alongside us today, who's one of our sales managers here at Duval, who's helped you on your investment journey. So I really just want to have a chat with you about your investment journey, and particularly just starting with your background, how you grew up, what your parents taught you about property and money, that sort of thing, and sort of your understanding of that, or any information that you had growing up.
So I was quite lucky. My parents taught me a lot about money and property. Property is a safe and secure asset, and you should always buy property to put your money in.
So they invested in some property themselves when you were growing up and did that sort of thing?
They farmed, so the farming's business, but the farm's the asset.
Yeah, just different asset classes. So they've invested in assets, and they taught you the financial literacy of investing in assets.
So rather than shares and things like that, they were like the assets being the property and doing that sort of thing, which was cool.
Income producing assets.
Yeah.
What did you know, I guess, about property investment before you met Ben?
Originally from Christchurch, and a lot of my friends down there were in the property market. But it's very different to Auckland. What I had to realise, and Ben helped me understand, is how different investing in Auckland is. The opportunities of build to rent, buying off plans, really.
And so in terms of what your current situation is, you're currently working as a quantity surveyor, and so now you're obviously starting on your investment journey. What have you done? What have you done since meeting Ben?
Yeah, so I was looking to buy a house, and it'd been one of those things I kept kicking down the timeline, and Ben basically sort of showed me how to do it and that I could already do it. So I used my Kiwisaver and a bit of savings and a little bit of help from the parents to get into my first house.
That's awesome. In fact, that's really cool, because I think for our audience, you cover a lot of bases in terms of that. One of the things that we've talked quite a bit about on this series is taking the opportunities when you can accept help from other people. A couple that I spoke to earlier, they also had used their parents and asked their parents for help in terms of getting on the property ladder, which is super awesome. Did you know a lot about Kiwisaver and Homestart Grant and how to access that before you started interacting with Duval?
Yes, I did. So that's
you've done some
the main
research.
reason I got into Kiwisaver was for that, yeah.
To be able to start doing that and getting ready for your investment in your first time. That's super cool.
I think it was quite interesting though, when I first met you, you were probably more so than most people that I met in the first home sort of buyer sector. Most people come with a lot of predisposed ideas, and they think, well, this is what I was told, or this is how it should be. But you were just a lot more interested, and I would just start talking about what I've done with property and my journey. And you thought, oh, that's a bit different to what I've heard. Can you explain that a bit more? I definitely could see the cogs turning in your head, because it was different to what your family had done or what your friends in Christchurch had done.
Yeah, and that's the learning.
And what about, had you considered before buying off the plan?
No.
Why not?
I think the Kiwi dream is to buy the doer-upper. However, I'm good at quantity surveying, but I'm probably not the person you'd want fixing the toilet.
Swinging the hammer, yeah.
Yeah.
But obviously then hearing about buying off the plan sparked your interest, and you went, great,
Yeah.
less work.
That's literally what got me. It's just like, oh, this takes a lot of the work out. You can do the numbers.
That's right.
We've had that a few times before, that people realise that, well, it's actually going to save me time. The time's more valuable than my money, so if that works out, then it's probably a worthwhile trade-off.
And I think as well, investing early, like obviously getting in stage 1 and Rata, the Rata terraces, you'll probably do quite well with that, because the pricing has increased along the way. People who are our investors and make their first purchase like you have, Will, we release those projects early to people who have already invested with us. So you kind of get that opportunity to get in early, take advantage of that pricing. Congratulations, because stage 1 prices have gone up. Ben, no doubt you're all over that too.
I am so aware. I mean, I bought a stage 1 as well, and I think that was part of what we initially discussed, was about how I did it, how I got started, and I think that was the second or third one that I bought on my journey. So I'd kind of seen how it works, getting from start to finish, and was able to just kind of explain that it is a real thing.
Because this is a great thing, right? You're putting that deposit down, and what was your deposit? Did you do a 10% deposit?
Yeah, 10%.
So you're putting your 10% deposit down, and you pay nothing else until the building is finished, but you've locked in that price. So that might be, it could be 18 months that you're waiting for the building to be finished. But in that time, the value of the property is increasing. So you're taking advantage of those increases in the value of the property over the time. But how much right now are you paying for your property? Nothing.
Yeah.
No? And so this is the beauty of buying off the plan. You've got all that time, and you've also got that extra time to be able to save a little bit more when you go and get your mortgage with the bank.
Also, like, not having to worry about going in and bidding. You know the price, you can do the numbers. Makes the process a lot more quicker and easier.
What are your kind of goals and aspirations from here? What do you want to do next?
So it'd be good to get this house and then look towards getting more. Obviously, building a business at the moment, so the idea would be to essentially accumulate rentals, so that the money's, obviously when you're making the money, you don't want it sitting in the bank. So ideally building that nest egg through rentals.
And it just starts with the first one, right? So this is the thing, you've just thrown yourself in there, got your first home. Super cool thing to be able to do, and now it just starts the ball rolling. Tell me a little bit about working with Ben and the Duval Group and how you've found the experience working with our team.
Yeah, so I was quite lucky with Ben. Ben took the time to explain and answer my questions. He did it with high energy. Also gave me the opportunity to learn a new way of investing and a new way of buying houses, which was quite valuable.
I enjoyed taking your parents out for that tour when they came up from Christchurch too. That was quite nice.
Yeah, that was good. Good. They were quite impressed with the site.
Yeah.
A bit bigger than most construction sites in Christchurch.
You have to suggest to them that they invest in their property with us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What were some of the hesitations or some of the things that you went through? Because it is a pretty scary process, and there's no going around that, especially when you're buying your first property. So what were some of the things that went through your head when you were going through that process?
I think understanding the numbers side is quite important from my point of view of being a Kiwisaver. But I also think listening to the right people and doing your own research, and then realizing you've got to go out there and pull the trigger. And if you're not in the position, get yourself in the position and then do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I know our team work quite closely. We often get inquiry from people who are not quite there yet, but they're really not sure what to do. And then sometimes we see people who don't think they can do anything, and they've come to us for some advice or suggestions, but then we realise actually you're already in a position to do this. A lot of people who have invested in Kiwisaver or their Kiwisaver specifically, because obviously unless you're opting out, you're in. And so sometimes quite by accident you end up in a situation where you've got a good little a little pot of money there, and that added to your Home Start grant, you can actually, often we find people can already invest. So that's always quite a good one to come across.
Yeah, I really enjoy the moment people click and they go, oh, I can. No one's ever just helped me understand that I can, because it does seem like such an unattainable goal when you hear about it, having a large deposit or 20% or whatever it may be, and you go, oh man, I don't have $100,000 behind the couch. You're like, no.
And you hear in the media constantly as well, constantly home ownership is so hard, the Auckland market's really difficult to get into, all of this sort of thing. And I think often those are theories that are kind of vetoed once somebody starts working with us, because they realise that actually there's lots of ways to skin a cat.
And there's lots of places you can get information. I know you and I have spoken about this in length even after you went unconditional, about who you surround yourself with. And if you've got a group of people that have never invested, then they're always going to have an opinion on property, and whether or not it's valid is entirely up to you to decide so. But what were some of the things that you might have heard from friends or family that may have been thrown in the mix when you were going through this process?
Oh, look, I think a lot of people are willing to give you advice. It's about understanding where the advice comes from and qualifying it. So Luckily, I have quite a lot of friends that are in property.
Mm.
A lot of my family is. But you still have the odd ones that say, well, you can't do that. They're unaffordable. But, you've got to look at your opportunities that you do have, because opportunities out there for everyone.
And sometimes it's a matter of being brave, right?
Yeah.
And just kind of taking that step and just getting on with it and not procrastinating too much, I think.
Yeah. When you went out on your own to start your own quantity surveying business, there were people that you spoke to who went out on their own to start a business and it didn't work. And as soon as you asked them, they said, "Oh, it's very risky. Don't do that."
Yeah. I think what's the biggest risk you could do is not taking a risk. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think also there's great importance in making things work. Like if you make the commitment to something, you tend to make it work. It's like when you're not committed, that's when things don't work.
Yeah, and setting those goals in place as well. And I think that's something we focus on a lot here, is we expect that the people who invest in our properties or buy a home from us, that's not the last one they'll buy. We never have that approach. We always have an expectation, and we're always talking to people about what the next step is in their journey, because you don't want to stagnate and stand still. And the best time to invest in a property always is now, so I think that that's a big thing too, putting those goals in place and planning out that strategy and kind of mapping where you're going with it.
Without a doubt, and it's got to be something that you've set, like this is your investment strategy, not mine. We may be able to help you with a plan, but when you're attached to something longer than just the short term, then the purchase of a property just becomes a byproduct of the process. It's like, oh, I'm going to get this one because it's just the next one in my step. I want to get to X amount of properties when I retire, or whatever that looks like for you to give you that nest egg or that comfortable retirement.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming along, Will. We really appreciate you
pleasure.
coming in and having a chat with us. And we look forward to helping you work through settlement of Rata Terraces.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
I was always wanting to buy a house, but I didn't know how. And then the other one is, some people like me, young and dumb, have a bit of debt, and then you run away from it.